What I'm kind of curious about, and this, this might be just a tiny bit of a sidebar, but you're a musician, so I really want to ask you your opinion on the state. It seems to me the state of present day pop music, it's more of an electronic assembly than it is musicianship. Now, I could be totally ignorant, but at least in
Yeah.
terms of pop music, it seems to be more, it's the shift towards composing with computer software, and making sounds that don't actually exist in nature, so to
Right.
speak. I'm curious, what do you see that? Do you see any possibility, potential for beauty from that, or is it kind of like,
I absolutely see potential for beauty and have seen beauty out of electronic sounds or electric sounds. We could debate about acoustic versus electric and what's better, if there is something is better, and that's not really germane to what we're getting at here. But yes, there is potential for beauty in electronic sounds as such. What excludes potential for beauty is the manner in which these things are pieced together. And that is one of excluding life. You know what I mean? It's like that lack of rhythm. It's not just that it's repetitive rhythm, because great music can have repetitive rhythm. It's that it's so repetitive because there's no breathing in it. It's exactly the same every time because it's done perfectly mathematically by a computer, and there's no human motion in it. So, you can have a human being playing a synthesizer, and it might not be a wind instrument that's activated by his breath and has all those nuances in it, but it is a human rhythm and a human rhythmic breath, and the phrasing is human and it's imperfect and it's not the same every time. Even if he's a highly skilled musician, it's just impossible for it to be exactly the same every time, even if he plays the same phrase 50 times in a row. So there's that element of a deeper, what we might call a deeper groove in James Brown's band, which, by the way, for me, James Brown's music is so repetitive that I find it fairly boring, but that groove is there. It's much more human. And, that's one of the problems with music today. There's the element of people putting together bigger and bigger chunks. So sampling, I'm not going to say it's not an art. There are a lot of things that are art that aren't particularly interesting. Good, you can have a set of dolls that you put in a certain arrangement, but like how high of a level of creativity is that when the pieces are all put together for you already? And so sampling is a similar kind of thing. Or it's the manner in which the thing is assembled. It's the spirit with which it's assembled. The purpose is not artistic so much of the time in modern pop music. And then there's this other aspect, which is that everything is about lyrics. It's about lyrics and it's about attitude. And I'm sorry, but lyrics aren't music. So that's one of my pet peeves, is that when people are talking about like music and then the only thing that they talk about is the lyrics. A Catholic is discussing how music affects you and the only thing you talk about is lyrics. Well, that's just not what music is. Music isn't lyrics. It can include lyrics, but lyrics are not part of music, qua music. An art form that is entirely based on lyrics, where the main appeal is the lyrics, is at least less music than something that can stand on its own, even without lyrics, even if you took the words away. So there's that aspect of it. And then by nature, when you get to the lowest form of that, you've got music without melody, and harmony and rhythm are great, but melody is in some mysterious way at the center of what music is. But when you've got things that are only rhythm and chords and there's almost no melody, or whatever kind of melody there is incredibly impoverished, then you're getting something that is not fulfilling. What it does is it appeals to a lifestyle. It appeals to an attitude or an image. It appeals to an emotion, a self-image. The words done in a rhythmic manner, just enough that they are a little more catchy, because there's nothing in the words themselves that is remotely meritorious on a literary level very much of the time. But you get that little sing-songy nursery rhyme quality that makes it memorable, even without any real poetic qualities. So not to go on a rant about, what we all know is the sort of preponderance of rap in all forms of modern music, even down to the fact that there's now rap in country music, and hey, I'm ready to recognize better rap or worse rap. I can recognize the gradations, but it is a form of music that is almost defined by what it lacks, because what it lacks is melody. It's almost defined by the fact that it lacks melody. And so there's something fundamentally missing there, even though it's fun and it can have a good groove and it can be entertaining. And on rare occasions, the lyrics are not complete degenerates. Sorry, I don't know what the question was. I just went on a huge rant.
We are far afield from our question.
But you were asking about electronic sounds and sort of the way you were asking about the way modern pop music is put together. And I would say, yeah, in terms of sound per se, no problem. You can make beautiful things out of any kind of sound. But once you start putting them together in a pattern, and the patterns themselves are schematic and, created by computers without a direct human intervention. I don't mean human design. Of course, these things are designed by people, but they are designed according to a formula, and they're very often designed without human input in a direct performative way. And music is very mysterious in that way, that human aspect of performance and the irregularities of it are part of what make it beautiful.
Thank you for that. And what I would just tag on as an echo, because what I hear you saying is kind of it's not just the case, like the human element. I'm hearing more even as the personal element. Art cannot be made by a computer. It has to be made by a person. We may have something that resembles art, that is made by a computer, or certainly a human can make art mediated through a computer. But to really, and you see this with film as well. This is my big drum that I always beat, and I won't go into it here, but just that the more personal a film is, the more, and I don't mean in terms of subject matter, I mean in terms of the way in which it approaches its material, that you, what I was saying earlier about rhythm, finding the most appropriate rhythm for how to edit a film, how you shoot a film, the visual, how you approach it visually. There's all these decisions that, ultimately boil down to a person, a director, making a final decision on how things are going to be. And when you can see a film that really knows what it is, it's because that is coming from the hands of a director who really knows what he or she really is set out to do. And there's a thrill there. There's the greatest films are the ones that they bring that personal aspect of making, to its deepest expression. And so I think that's that's the case across all the arts, and I really wonder if a lot of what Father Pine is kind of raising in his video is particularly, it's particularly of our time, because we are moving more and more into a depersonalized world in terms of mediation with the world, being online, off versus offline, the way we consume media and being bathed in media. But basically, like the aspect of the person is being more and more de-emphasized on so many levels in our society. And sorry, just to tie this off, like with moving image media, I think, yeah, you really see that happening with how they're meant to engage viewers. There isn't a concern that they're trying to really approach you as a dignified person. It's more just, it's treating you the same as an algorithm or something.
But I have to say, even in the most sort of committee produced films of today, the human is not eliminated to nearly the degree that it is in modern pop music. I mean, modern music is the worst off of all the art forms that are present. I mean, you could say poetry is worse off because people just don't read it, or there's art forms that just people have forgotten exist. But in terms of the art forms that are very heavily present in modern life, music is just completely debased. If you're looking at a film that has a lot of CGI, at the end of the day, most of the time there's still human actors in there. And I suppose music usually still has a voice, but boy, that voice is filtered through 1,000, effects and algorithms.
Auto-tuned.
In the way that an actor's performance is formed by editing, but I hope it's fair to say that the human element is still a bit more present, even in sort of mediocre pop culture movies of today. Even ones with a certain element of CG. Certainly we see that going away, and it's a bit scary once you get into dead actors being recreated by CG and things like that. But pop music, the human element is even further taken away.